welcome to Dev Talks. This is Adi. Today afternoon is a special show. A special show, why? Because one of my favorite China watchers has written a book. अब वो बुक लिखी है तो पढ़नी पड़ेगी उसके बाद पढ़ के बात करनी पड़ेगी. We will have to talk about it. And the book is The Dragon's Bite, written by, of course, our very own Maj Gen Rajiv Narayanan. Sir, firstly, thank you so much. Welcome to the show, and thank you for this. I mean, gift of a lifetime, if I may. This is my second reading, as I was telling you, and
Yes, thank you,
because
Adi. Thank
badi
you.
akal kam hai na, sir.
Nahi, nahi. And I love your platform.
Sir,
So the first ever book discussion is on your platform for this book.
thank you so much, sir.
And,
Sir, firstly, guys, I want to say this couple of things. सबसे पहले तो sir's book is obviously online. There is a starred comment on your in the chat box where you can click. This has been published by the Lancers publishers, so you can click there and buy your copy. There is also this link which is there in the description. So for those of you who are going to be watching the show later on, there is a link in the description where you can actually buy this book. Let me just say something about the book, sir, if you don't mind, before I throw the ball
please
over to
go
you.
ahead.
Uh, Sir, I've read quite a bit about China, especially after, ये channel खोला थोड़ी सी, just to get a little understanding of how life works, how China works. Read quite a bit. One of the things, and I think I shared it with you also, that a lot of China watchers do is, they put in these big words, third foresight and four perspectives and five principles and three strategies and ye wo and all that stuff. When you get a little overwhelmed, समझ नहीं आता यार, ये हर सेंटेंस में मेरे को अगर एक एक चीज रिसर्च करनी पड़ेगी. वो बोल रहा है द सेवन स्ट्रैटेजीज वर फॉलोड, तो भाई मैं आई हैव टू लिटरली गो बैक एंड स्टडी व्हाट द सेवन स्ट्रैटेजीज आर and come back and read this book. So it becomes very taxing to read it. Having said that, sir, this particular book has been like a story. And I must say, compliments to you to making it like a story, sir, because in India, when I started reading about China, one thing I realized is you can't understand China. It's difficult. You need somebody to tell you in straight, simple language, which is not Chinese English, which is our English or our Hindi or whatever it is. And that is something I find in this book. And guys, that's my personal comments. This is a very easy to read book. You can get a lot about the Chinese mindset, जिसके बारे में we've spoken about on this platform multiple times. With sir, with multiple other people we've spoken about, ki what is the mindset? How will they fight? What will they do? And the name itself is very apt. And I'd like to read the first line, which says, "A dragon burns its prey first and then bites the remnants." So that's a very big statement to make. And I'll also say that this little dragon that sir has put here, of course, is the current version of China, which is a little weakened dragon, if I may. So kudos for that, sir. All
Thank you.
yours, sir. Tell us about this book and where did you, first of all, why? I mean, why write a book? You wanted to consolidate your thoughts. You wanted to kind of put your
Uh,
information out. What was the?
See, I had written a book on, I would say, a monograph on the PLA modernization in Xi Jinping era. And I have edited and published 3 books already. So this book initially started off as compiling the uh, orbat of the PLA, of
Hmm.
all organs. The start point was there. But as I started reading and compiling, I realized that that's futile, because those who are going to deal with it would get their orbat in place. The issue to understand is why such an orbat, why a particular style he is having. And from there began the quest to understand the psyche of the PLA itself, the CPC. And the start point was Mao's famous statement, "You fight your way, I'll fight mine." So, what is their way is what led me to this. And so then I decided to keep it simple, because like you said, it was a tough going. You had to read a lot and you had to research what was written there a lot, because like you said, the four, they would say four strategies, some three constructs, and three this thing and six that thing, becomes difficult. So that led me to the thing that if I have to write, and then it must be understood by a layman. If a layman can understand the book and comment on the book, it's not necessary that he likes the book or he agrees to my viewpoint. But if he can grasp what I am saying and come to me and say, no, I don't agree with your viewpoint, I feel this, I would feel that I have achieved my aim, that he has understood what I am trying to say. Because if he doesn't understand what I am trying to say, he is never going to comment on what I have written.
Mm.
A comment comes only if he understands what I am saying, understands my logic. Then the comment
Most
comes.
importantly, most importantly, sir.
That is the level which I started, and most comments have come from my wife, and the next one from my daughter. So I felt happy कि चलो वाइफ को समझ में आ गया, मतलब लेमन को समझ
No,
में
sir,
आ
it's
रहा है.
it's it's been written in a very common, simple language,
Simple
and
language.
there are
I,
few things I want to
I'm
actually.
not a Shashi Tharoor. I don't like to go down Shashi Tharoor's way, that you got to open dictionary to understand the word that is written there. Forget what the Chinese have said. तुमने क्या लिखा है वो, उसके लिए डिक्शनरी खोलने से फिर कोई फायदा नहीं होता.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. One of the things that I wanted to actually bring about before we. I know you've prepared something for us also, but just for the viewers, I want to read out this little line, which I think will surmise and lay the groundwork for our discussion today. Because when we are going to talk about how the PLA fights, we need to understand how they actually think about the fighting process. Where did it all start? And on that, I'd like to say Mao Zedong coined a famous quote, and I'm quoting from the book, which says, "Political power grows out of the barrel of the gun." Statement one. And secondly, in December 1929, during the ninth meeting of the CPC in Gutian, this arrangement was formalized by Mao. This arrangement is basically the PLA's game, when he stated that the military's role, that's the Chinese military's role, was to chiefly serve political ends. These are two things I wanted to actually put across before we started, because this tells you the mindset of the PLA. And I'm
Correct.
actually now talking like an expert because I read this
No,
book. Let me just say this, but
I'm
it's
happy
very
you gave those points, because people have to understand that People's Liberation Army is not Chinese armed forces. It is the armed wing of the Communist Party of China. It owes allegiance to the Communist Party of China and not to the people of China. And its primary task is to ensure the continued rule of the Communist Party of China. That is its primary task. Okay. And the second part is like what I had given in the introduction, that it is like a dragon. It uses the unrestricted warfare and all the other warfares that we discussed to burn you from inside, and then come forward to bare its teeth. If you succumb, it's fine. If you don't succumb, then he fights you, because he feels that since your strength has been so denuded from inside, you will not be strong. And in this comes Sun Tzu's art of generalship,
hmm,
which they follow. That the acme of generalship is to win without fighting,
fighting.
or that the general should ensure victory before battle is joined. So, which is where the internal fire comes in, that you win without fighting, or you have ensured victory that the country is so weakened it can't fight. This is the crux of their war fighting method. Okay, so let us take it step by step about the book, what exactly it is and how it is. So, like you mentioned there, a dragon burns its prey first and then bites the remnants. Dragons never eat. So, this is the book. Next. Yeah. So, this is what I had to say, that for decades, China has been called a dragon. And like a dragon, under the Communist Party of China, it burns the target nation's comprehensive national power. I'll come to it later. What exactly is it? How does it differ from the Western construct of national power?
National power.
Before it will unleash its PLA if required. And this is based on the lessons it has learnt within. We all remember Mao Zedong's Long March. What happened? They were initially concentrating within the cities and only targeting the subversion of the nationalist army. Some of them they were able to subvert, but they got a thrashing. They got a sound thrashing, and so now they went on the long march, went north, and that is where he finalized his ideology that to win we must subvert the people. So the people will support us and give us all the information. Those days you didn't have UAVs and all these radio signals. So the human intelligence would give you the intelligence of who's where and what and how to fight, the guerrilla way of fighting. And that was how they gained victory after the Second World War.
So,
okay. And the second thing which he had understood, that the war to win has to be protracted. Protracted. That is, initially you're on the defensive, subverting everybody, holding your own. Then you achieve a level of subversion and other things, and your strength is increased, that you are able to get a stalemate. And then when you become stronger, you go on the offensive. Exactly the same way he does with other countries out here.
correct.
Their subversion internally and achieve a stalemate and then go on the offensive if he has become strong. I will give a classic example here, which people can correlate. This is what happened with Vietnam. It was around 2011 once they had a standoff in the South China Sea area, which is closer to Vietnam, and where they were having a standoff for oil exploration. And their militia boats and their coast guard had pushed back the Vietnamese boats. What happened? The Vietnamese government unleashed their people. They burnt up all Chinese outlets in Vietnam. Under that garb, some Japanese and Koreans also got burnt, but they got after the Chinese. And within 1 week, China apologized and pulled back. Then the incident happened again in 2018, 17, 18. This time, 18. This time the Japanese didn't have the guts, the Vietnamese didn't have the guts to unleash the people. They went around trying to get put diplomatic pressure on China. What changed? The Chinese investment into the Vietnamese was so much that initially in 2011 they were controlling only about barely 5% of the GDP. This time they were controlling between 12 to 15% of the GDP.
Whoa.
And the open threat was that if you do this, we are pulling out. You realize this is what he does. And just see the difference in response. वो दिन है, आज का दिन है, वियतनाम ओपनली खड़ा नहीं हो सकता है, he needs help. So this is how it fights. So it doesn't need a strong PLA. It feels because they think कि आसपास नहीं होना है. So we will come into that. Let's look at the chapters next. Yeah. So basically, assessment करके it looks at the future trajectory, and the basic essence of this book is for any, and this is not just for China, it is for any military. If you have to modernize, you must have a grand strategy as to how you are going to fight the future multi-domain wars. That will lead to a military strategy and what kind of tasking you need to give to your armed forces. Now, based on that, you look at what should be the capability development and modernization. And from there comes that dictates what kind of reorganization and restructuring you need to be effectively able to utilize these capabilities. So from this, I have tried to assess what is the current status, where it has reached, and what is the likely trajectory of the PLA, and what are the implications for the region that can be analyzed. So in the next, I'll show you. The book is in 3 parts basically. Next. Yeah. So this is what it shows about the book: strategy and tasking, capability, reorganization, and future. This is what is the essence in the book. Next. So what are the chapters? There are 3 basic chapters or 3 parts, and each part has 3 chapters. Simple. In part 1, I have taken from inception till the rule of Hu Jintao, how it has evolved, what was the strategy conceived then, how did they fight, what are the trends and restructuring. And in part 2, we go to Xi Jinping era, and in part 3 comes to what is the future trajectory and what are the way ahead for India and for the US and the rest. Now, when we start with Mao, what happened? It was a peasant army. So he felt that man was more important than the weapon. So that is why they had the strategy of massed attacks, and there were huge group armies and large number of group armies. And he utilized the same thing when he went into Xinjiang and Tibet, when he fought the Korean War. Literally swamping the opposition with men. That's how Korean War, they re-achieved the stalemate. And we know how they fought the 62 war. But when you come to Deng Xiaoping's era, things changed. So now he opined, because by then China had become friends with US. So they knew that a superpower, whether it be Soviet Union or US, they are not going to fight them. If they can deceive them and keep them happy, so it was going to be local wars. Okay. So for the local war, what you needed was local strategies.
Local.
So winning local wars, then under high-tech conditions, modern conditions, informationized conditions, and now intelligence-ized conditions. Even today, it is local wars. That is why he is becoming hyper when you have Quad. Because their entire strategy, which Deng Xiaoping had made, fails if the moment a superpower steps in.
Yeah, this is interesting that you mentioned this. Sorry if I interject, because you're also right that his plan was always to fight a regional power
Yes.
rather than a superpower. And he very
Super.
specifically mentions that the regional power will be fought or either on the seas or in a barren place with very little population.
Correct. Which is our Ladakh and Arunachal.
So if somebody says that China never thought to fight a war with India and it didn't
Oh, no, no, no,
consider
no,
India
no.
as a threat, and oh,
वो तो शुरू से India is a threat. Okay. So I will explain later. Deng Xiaoping had evolved two things. First is the war zone campaign to fight local wars, how they will do it,
hmm,
encompassing the uh, denuding of the comprehensive national park. And he had brought what is known as comprehensive national park, वो भी समझा दूंगा आगे. To denude all these things, they started off by establishing Confucius institutes everywhere. You have China study circles also, study centers. These are all funded from China and come under control of whatever structure they may say, it comes under the United Front Works Department.
hmm,
That is the propaganda department of Communist Party of China. And they fund political parties, politicians, media houses, intelligentsia, NGOs, scholars, by getting them to give scholarships and do essentially subverting them to follow their uh, thought process and present China in a positive light.
hmm.
Write about them. हल्का हल्का सा ट्विस्ट करके वो आपको दे देगा. So this is what is there essentially today, the cognitive domain operations. If multiple areas say similar articles are coming with a slight variation but giving a positive spin off, you will take that. Okay, that is what it is. And within the PLA, before Xi Jinping did his restructuring, we'll come to that also. They were in multiple departments, but they worked with under because वो general staff department था, general political works department था, general armament department था, सब तरफ फैले हुए थे वो various int and propaganda people, and you work on that. Now, whenever people got worried when China was rising, what was the term coined by Hu Jintao? Peaceful rise, harmonious rise. This was to carry forward Deng Xiaoping's famous dictum to hide your claws and bide your time. And it's very classic when you read the book, you will find, especially in, I had added the tasking of the PLA in their white papers, which I have consolidated and kept. That as their comprehensive national power has evolved, the wording in the tasking starts changing. Can't hear you. You're muted. You're
I,
muted.
I said sorry. I'm saying that is very interesting, sir. Why? Because you can see the focus going from defense to, if I may, sustenance of the CCP.
Yes.
So that tells you gradually over the years, from the early 60s, 70s to the 90s and to the 2000s, the threat to the survival of the CCP was much in question.
Not only that, also the tasking from there for the PLA.
Yeah,
For the first time in 2006 was when Hu Jintao first time laid out that they should be able to protect their expanding interests.
interest.
And now what were the interests? All the places where they have invested. An
Hmm.
indicator of them stepping out, like what they have done in Djibouti and later in Gwadar and Hambantota and in Kyokpo. So that already your, if you were reading carefully and see how the tasking has evolved, it becomes very clear for you.
The
Okay.
progression is very interesting, sir.
Yes. Can we go to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is where I say there is a strategic continuum for China's dream. Who gave this China dream the vision? It was Dr. Sun Yat-sen, the first president of Republic of China. People
And the
make the
father of
mistake of saying that China gained independence in 1949. Sorry, China was never under a power. Let's be very clear. For it to be independent, China was always independent. They had the Qing. Last empire was the Qing Empire. That was overthrown, and in 1911, the Republic of China was formed. So, on what basis do people and West blindly quotes them that they gained independence in 49? Hello, they were never a colony. So, what do you mean they gained independence? They were already independent. They changed from empire to a republican government where
yes,
they had a president. वो अलग बात है सुन यात सेन एक साल के अंदर he was thrown out and somebody else came and then he came back again. That is covered in the book in part 1 what happened. But he is the one who gave the vision, and he published this book in 1921-22. German publisher has published it, where he says how China should surpass the US and the West. It's a beautiful book with maps. Now, that has been actualized by Deng Xiaoping, and he lays out the strategy of how China should go forward.
yeah,
Okay, Mao Zedong failed. Deng Xiaoping laid the foundation. Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao continued. Xi Jinping is reaping the benefits, attempting to gain the China dream. But the question is, has he jumped the gun? That is the biggest question.
$1 million
Because the
question.
way you see it today, it is Ashley Tellis had written about 3 years ago that Xi Jinping has jumped the gun about a decade early. Because neither is China fully developed, nor has it got its own internal consumption. And to think that I am a big power and I can challenge the world, and that is where they have, I feel, also I agree with them, that they have fallen quite badly. And that is where they are paying the penalty for, because this in international relations and geopolitics, you got to time your move very carefully. In Chinese language, there is a statement that never ask the emperor the weight of the cauldrons. Okay, there is a temple there in Beijing. I've been to that. It's in the olden days, in the main temple, only the emperor was permitted to pray there, and गन मेटल के 9 बड़े बड़े कॉल्ड्रंस होते थे. नेक्स्ट नंबर 2 जो प्रिंस होता था उसके साथ होते थे बाकी रॉयल्टी के 5-3 ऐसे कॉल्ड्रंस, एंड all of them, even the prince was not permitted entry into that main temple. Only the emperor can do it. They were all into the neighboring temples. So if there was a challenger or a pretender to the throne, he would try to know what is the actual weight of the cauldron which the emperor uses, because the weights are different. So the meaning in that is that if you're not strong enough, never ask the emperor's weight, the weight of the emperor's cauldrons,
Because
then you will be sorted out. And that is what has happened with Xi Jinping. He asked the weight of the emperor's cauldron before he was ready.
If I may, sir, I'd like to just actually slightly disagree with you. I don't think he asked. He every day asks it. So
Yeah,
everybody knows
so
his
he started.
intentions.
No, where it happened actually,
Yeah.
when he
Philippines.
was the one, he pushed with Obama for G2.
Yeah. Oh,
कि भाई
okay.
मैं भी सुपर पावर हूं तुम भी सुपर पावर. That is asking the weight of the cauldrons. Obama almost fell for it, but it was at that time the State Department is the one who forced Obama to say no. And that is where it stands. And even now, today, now again, he is asking for a G2.
He's talking about G2 again.
Yeah. So that is asking the weight of the cauldrons, because you're telling the world that I'm a superpower. You're not. You're not. Okay. So
बट सर वो
let's go.
सुपर पावर कहाँ का, एक एक तरफ बोलता है भैया व्हेन द अमेरिकन से भाई यू आर अ डेवलप्ड कंट्री, नो 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 वी आर डेवलपिंग, एंड देन
वही तो
सेकंड
डाइकोटमी है ना. अब वही हो जाता है ना कि आप डेवलप्ड हो कि अंडर डेवलप्ड हो. लाइक व्हाट आई हैड सेड व्हेन वी डिड द टॉक ऑन इंडियाज लीडरशिप ऑफ ग्लोबल साउथ, कि आप उधर भी हो, मतलब धोबी का कुत्ता ना घर का ना घाट का, आप बीच में रह गए हो.
जहाँ उसको घुसना है घुस जाता है वो.
Shall we go to the next slide? Yeah. So this is the war zone campaign made by अपना टंग शाओपिंग. 3 फेज का है ये. तो जब एक्चुअल लड़ाई होना है, लड़ाई के पहले जो फेज है is the phase where the unrestricted warfare is going on to destroy your CNP. Now, once he feels that your CNP is completely destroyed, then he comes with the phase 1, कि अपने फौजों को ले आएगा लॉन्ग रेंज, ये बाकी स्पेशल फोर्सेस से डिसरप्शन, उसके 5th कॉलमनिस्ट इनसाइड से डिसरप्शन, and he asks you to accept what he is saying. If you don't, if you agree, that means he has gained a political victory. If not, then he unfolds the build up. तो इसके पहले जो चल रहा था और फेज 1 में जो चल रहा है वो चलता रहेगा. नाउ बिल्डअप आता है. नाउ बिल्डअप इज व्हाट पीपल फ्रॉम अदर थिएटर कमांड्स, उन दिनों मिलिट्री रीजन होता था, तो फ्रॉम देयर दे विल कम एंड बिल्ड अप. यहाँ के मिलिट्री कमांड का भी, वेस्टर्न थिएटर कमांड का भी हैज टू बिल्ड अप, बिकॉज दे आर सिटिंग इन सिचुआन, दे आर नॉट क्लोज बाय. ये जो करेगा तो लोकल फोर्सेस के साथ करेगा. Then he'll seize, for us, like he'll seize the pass, come across and dominate, and प्लाफ के स्ट्राइक होंगे, रॉकेट फोर्सेस के स्ट्राइक होंगे, हैवी फायर पार करेगा, he'll destroy your infrastructure in the region and ask कि भाई आ जाओ बात कर लेते हैं. एक्सेप्ट अगेन अ पॉलिटिकल विक्ट्री. मिलिट्री विक्ट्री तो है ही है, बिग पॉलिटिकल विक्ट्री. अगर नहीं होता है तो देन पूरा फोर्स के साथ लड़ेगा.
All out.
That has been his concept to do it, and something similar he learnt and enforced it, especially learning the lessons from the 1979 Vietnam War, where they went in full force and tactically and operationally, so they got thrashed. Okay, so this is his concept, जिसके बेसिस पे अब वो सारा स्ट्रक्चर खड़ा करना शुरू किया. So next, let us understand what is comprehensive national park. This is a term the Chinese started in 1985. ये स्टडी कराया था एंड एक नया वर्टिकल लाया, ह्यूमन सोर्स, द ह्यूमन रिसोर्स. We have forgotten Chanakya, where Chanakya had already given the human resource as part of it when he talks of the 7 elements of power. Raja, Mantri, Praja, ye wo, and everything, 7 elements of power, and lot of them are human resource. We have forgotten about that.
Yeah.
West, unfortunately, has only 3 elements in their national park: defense, diplomacy, and economy. That's it. But now, if you look at it, whether you take defense, whether you take diplomacy, whether you take economy, human resource के बगैर तो आप कैसे करोगे कोई भी चीज? आदमी चाहिए आपको डिफेंस के लिए, लड़ने के लिए. डिप्लोमेसी के लिए तो आपका आदमी जाता है, डिप्लोमेट जाता है, कोई मशीन तो नहीं जाता. इकोनॉमी भी आपको करना है तो अनलेस योर वर्कर्स आर देयर, द मैनेजर्स आर देयर, आपका इकोनॉमी कैसे बढ़ेगा? सो नाउ इफ आई कैन स्ट्रेटेजाइज टू सबवर्ट दीज ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज टू गेन इन्फ्लुएंस, all 3 verticals I can target. आपके बंदे लड़ेंगे नहीं. आप take your mind back to Battle of Plassey.
Correct.
Would Robert Clive have been able to win if he had not subverted Mir Jafar?
No.
सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता. Okay, and then he will come. Now, to enable this and avoid attention, that is the Deng Xiaoping's Tao Gang Yang Hai कि भाई hide your claws, bide your time and never take leadership. And Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao followed it, and China reaped the benefit of double-digit growth. आंख मूंद के यूएस एंड वेस्ट ने दिया उनको.
पेट्रियट मिसाइल्स तक की टेक्नोलॉजी दी.
सब दिया, कैसे नहीं दिया. Now, as their CNP grew, they started evolving, and the concept initially was active defense. Active defense means that you are strategically on the defense, but if you feel threatened by enemy action in any sector, you can launch a preemptive attack on it. Active defense does not mean that you will be reactive. It means if you feel threatened, I can attack before you. Okay. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So now from there, they have shifted to what is now called active forward defense. Active forward defense means they will move out, ensure that the battles are fought beyond the boundaries, whether it is land, maritime, or air boundaries of China. Now, to think how to strategize this, sometime around 1998-99, they had conducted a seminar. This was published in English, edited by Michael Pillsbury in 2002. And it talks of the 6 future combat concepts. अब आप देख लो 98-99 की बात कर रहा हूं, जो आज आप देख रहे हो सब आ रहा है. Long range combat, which talks of long range vectors, unmanned vehicles, unmanned armed vehicles. Outer space combat, which we talked, was the term used. Today the utilization is militarization of space. Paralysis combat, what is it? It talks about decision making paralysis. This is kinetic information warfare and cognitive domain warfare. कि आप डिसीजन लेने में आप गलत डिसीजन ले लोगे या आप पैरालाइज हो जाओगे, डिसीजन नहीं ले पाओगे. Play psychologically on the mind of the commander and the people. It's not just the commander, it's also the people, the decision makers, the big senior decision makers. Computer combat, cyber warfare. Computers तो तब आ रहे थे. Radiation combat is directed energy weapons. Use of lasers to burn off something. Robo combat, that is AI, robotic swarm. तो ये 6 उन्होंने लिस्ट किए थे. And since then, the complete R&D has been focused towards this. Now, how to achieve active forward defense? They coined the phrase overseas strategic strong points.
OSSB.
Basically base, military base. But military base they felt has a colonial
and thoda wo
hangover.
hegemonic American types. हाँ.
So they call it overseas strategic strong points.
Strong points.
इसमें मैंने दिया हुआ है पूरा चैप्टर 2-3 paragraphs on that, where it clearly gives out what it is supposed to do, which is exactly what the colonial powers would do.
Yeah.
कि भाई जो आपके बंदे हैं, help in ensuring that they are there. Okay. Now, when you're doing this active forward defense and overseas strategic strong points, which are the forces that you will primarily look at? Your ships, your air force, your long range vectors, your missiles and other things, cyber, space. Now it tells you, when you look at their इसमें उतना डिटेल में गया नहीं हूं, but if you open up the Google and see where are they spending the money maximum, I rest my case. They're spending it on these issues. AI, swarm technology, drones, cyber. directed energy weapon, everything they are doing. Okay, so this is how they have, as they are growing strong, they realize that earlier, since they were not strong, they said we will use the landmass to
Hmm.
suck in the enemy and then kill him. Now, then they said, okay, now it is regional warfare, so I'm strong enough, I should be able to sort them out.
Reach there. Hmm.
I should
Reach
be able to
and
sort them
sustain.
out.
Huh.
And
Hmm.
so, to move them, since 2009, they have been practicing what was then called trans-regional support operations exercise.
Yep.
QAUA करके exercise होता था इनका, where long distance movement, the formations from one theater were moving to another theater, about 1800 2000 kilometers movement.
Wow.
So they have been practicing this regularly. We talk of ब्रिगेडाइजेशन, ये ब्रिगेडाइजेशन का प्रैक्टिस जो 2006 से शुरू हो गया है इनका. 2011 the brigadization started and they started doing exercise to see what kind of staffing they need. That is what has helped Xi Jinping. People look only at Xi Jinping कि उसने कर दिया. ना जी, 2006 से 2009 से चल रहा है. Now the next phase what they have done is they have combined battalions. Battalion battle group they call it, where within the battalions you have the armor, the infantry, everything together. इसका भी practice 2009 से शुरू कर दिया था. So look at the time they have taken to practice, rehearse, and then achieve something. Next. Yeah. So now, what was his follies? Restructuring to kar diya. But what he did was, while you're talking of future wars are very fast moving. The opportunities become very limited. So you need what we call a directive style of command. You give your intention and the local commander has the authority to take whatever decision he has to. Okay. Now he cannot have faith on that. So there is complete centralized control in the CNC. CNC में सेंट्रलाइज करके आप लड़ नहीं सकते. ओके, अब थिएटर्स बना दिए हैं 5, रॉकेट फोर्स बना दिया है जो सेकेंड आर्टिलरी था. बट द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग विच इज द डेड गिववे इज all these elements which were involved in the 3 warfare strategy, information warfare, cyber, militarization of space, everything under the PLA, he created a special force which is called the Strategic Support Force.
Support. Yeah.
In the peacetime, this is the frontline arm of the PLA. They work with the United Front Workers Department to attack the comprehensive national power of the target country. Whether they want to attack it, whether it's a competitor today or it may rise up as a competitor elsewhere, or he is interested in enforcing, coercing them to follow his policy, this is what he uses. Okay. दिखाने के लिए जॉइंट स्टाफ डिपार्टमेंट, जॉइंट लॉजिस्टिक डिपार्टमेंट सब बना दिया है, but he doesn't have the capability of war waging capability. I have covered it in the book in one of the chapters when the modernization we have given that he doesn't have. Because what we do is when we are doing our capability development, we maintain a balance between war waging capability and getting in the new platform. He has removed the war waging capability because he feels that लड़ाई तो बाद में लड़ेंगे जब दुश्मन बिल्कुल ही हल्का कर दिया है, मुझे उसकी जरूरत नहीं है. I'll go for platforms. So he's gone total on platforms. Some of the like naval and air platforms, he suddenly finds that he doesn't have trained manpower. He doesn't have trainers for training them. So he's poaching retired people from the West. You can't fight war. So while the PLA has equipment, it doesn't have ideal force behind it. So in the near to medium term, he has no war waging capability. War, unless you have a proper system of operational logistics, you can't fight today's war.
Correct.
So hence his whole thrust in this period is going to be the multi-domain threat to denude your comprehensive national power. And that is why in one of our talks earlier, I had spoken about three front. That the third front is the internal multi-domain threat that we are going to face, not just from China but other inimical powers also.
as well.
So, because of that, in the book I have given how you should revamp your decision-making apparatus right from the top. It is not just the military. केवल मिलिट्री को restructure करने से नहीं होता है. The decision making apparatus starts from the top because it's a multi-domain threat. The people who take the decision out there must get the correct advice to be able to take a decision. Then you need to enunciate what is your national security strategy and what is your national defense strategy, and IMS is your integrated military strategy. You can, no need to state it openly, but internally to apna rakho, because everything else starts from here. Now you are going, talk is already happening of integrated theater commands or fronts. You got to take a call. Should it be under CDS? Under whom? Who decides the overall plan of how India is going to fight the battle? Which sector is going to be your main effort? Where is it going to be your secondary effort? Where will you go for your holding effort? Where will you go for your feint? Somebody at some place has to sit and decide. You just can't leave it to each of those theaters to fight their own battle. No, it doesn't happen. Okay. Somebody who is going to control the reserves, the strategic reserves. How do you decide who's going to deploy where? How do you ensure that when this is going on, how do you ensure that internal security apparatus is in place? Your multi-domain internal security apparatus also has to be in place. Who coordinates that? CDS can't coordinate that. So who coordinates that? How do you do that? Okay. So these are certain things which I have given in the book from my mind, that how it could be. I would be very happy if a debate starts, like integrated theater command and front. I'm happy a debate has started and people have started discussing about that. Discuss it. These are not things to be done in a hurry. You got to discuss it and arrive at a decision. Like we talk of Xi Jinping has done something, but the work on it started more than a decade ago.
Correct.
Similarly for Indo-Pacific, if you look
he's
at
still rushing it, by the way. It started a decade ago, but he's still rushing it.
These are not things you rush. And you cannot have integrated formations. I'm sorry. You first go for jointness, integration follows. To give a small example, you place me and say, I am the integrated formation commander, first class. I am there. You have given me Air Force asset. What will I know how to employ the Air Force here? How can I make the air plan? Or if you give me naval assets, how can I make the naval plan? Even if you say that I have done some staff work somewhere in some joint headquarters, that doesn't make me competent here. The plan is not just an operational plan, it has to be linked to the op logistics plan also to sustain that. Yeah. कैसे आएगा, कहाँ से आएगा, कौन बनाएगा, कैसे बनाएगा, how far can I reach, that is being done by the specialists today. That means each arm, each service is a specialist in its domain.
Correct.
Right? So get jointness. So whatever is the overlapping tasks that have been there, that gets sorted out. You sit together, all the three, and you arrive at a plan. So then what happens is there are multiple sub-campaigns, but the sum of the part is greater than the whole. To give an example, 1 plus 1 then becomes 11 and not 2. Because each campaign supplements the other and supports the other. You are supporting each other and furthering each other's aim.
But that's the way you actually optimize resources also, no?
Correct. So that is what I'm saying. You first go for jointness. Integration will follow. Integration तो इनका तो कब आ गया था, यूएस का गोल्डवाटर निकल्स एक्ट 1986 में, आज तक इंटीग्रेशन नहीं हुआ यार. तुम ओवरनाइट ऐसे ही बोल रहे हो इंटीग्रेशन हो जाएगा. It's not a joke here. You can't get, it's not so simple, it's not so easy. So that needs to be understood. And similarly in the Indo-Pacific domain, when you look at this region, पागल हो जाओगे. The amount of treaties, agreements, arrangements, each counterproductive, अलग अलग कोई कर रहा है, कोई कर रहा है. Where I have always written earlier also in all my writings, and here also I put it, that have one overarching umbrella, call it a forum, call it a commission, just have an headquarters. All existing agreements, arrangements are verticals underneath it. At this forum and commission, similarly like jointness, you'll stitch together your plans and you'll get a better bang for the buck. Or build back a better world. आर्या, ये इंडिया अफ्रीका, अपना एशिया अफ्रीका हमारा जापान के साथ है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया जापान का कुछ हो रहा है. All these come together and you will not be spending the same money on similar things in different places.
Overlapping नहीं होगा sir, correct.
Overlapping को नहीं होगा. So you have better coordination and economy of it. अगर ये नहीं करोगे, so if you're thinking ki bhai you will be able to do something in the Indo-Pacific, I'm sorry. See, the way he is fighting, he is using geoeconomics. He infiltrates inside, does subversion, uses geoeconomics to coerce countries to toe their line, and you are wanting to fight him. He is not wanting to fight you, na? He is fighting you in a different way. Because he knows the kind of strength of his PLA, a joint force of all the friendly countries together. He can't fight.
Yeah.
He can look at only one front, and आज के तारीख में तो उसके खुद के multiple domain threat हो रहा है. South China Sea, East China Sea, Arunachal, Ladakh. He is worried about the Uyghur Brigade coming into Xinjiang. He has his own internal problems taking place economically and unrest going on within CPC, within the people. तो किस के साथ लड़ेगा यार? So he is going to try to create problems for you in your own area, and that is where one gets to feel that what is going on in Manipur, maybe his hand is also there. Okay, so in a similar manner, he'll try to do various places to disrupt you. And look at how divisive the American politics has also become.
Oof.
Okay, so these are the things. Instead of making use she's follies, give you opportunities. A lot of opportunities to do things the correct way. So I have given my points of view in the book. I'll be very happy if debate starts on this and people start discussing this. I know when I had spoken about 4-star generals on each single command on Eastern, Northern and Maritime, how much people had spoken against it. I was the first to write it, by the way, in 2016.
So why are you putting out the secret
7
right now, sir?
7 साल पहले यूनिटी ऑफ कमांड होना चाहिए, और सब इन्हें जितने थे सब ने हंसे थे मेरे मुंह पे कि तू क्या बोल रहा है, won't happen. And I had told them that अगर आपको 3 या 4 4-star चाहिए तो उतने आप आपके एपेक्स के 4 निकाल दो. When you create jointness, obviously there will be overlapping commands which you don't need. उसके जगह आप अपना 4-star डाल दो. आज वही डिबेट हो रहा है. आई एम वेरी हैप्पी. Whether they follow my model or not is not the issue. The issue is they discuss and they arrive at a decision which I feel would be that way would be better for India. When you debate all options, discuss and arrive at a way ahead कि भाई इसको इस तरह से कर लेंगे, that serves India the better.
Absolutely, so, there's no question, sir.
Okay, so we need to be very careful of this multi-domain threat जो हमारे against आएगा, with this book also alludes to. So that is what I had to say about the book, and I'd be happy if people read it and debate on it.
Absolutely, sir. Guys, I'm going to say this again. For me, the biggest outlier of the book was basically this part of the Chinese white papers,
Yeah,
where
see, I will add like what we you were saying. To understand the book, the first 100 pages, 120 pages is where the essence of the book lies. That what is China, where it tells you what China, what China thinks and how they want to fight and rise. Next, about 60 pages or so, I cover up how they have evolved, the PLA has evolved, and what all structures have come in to further what they have strategized, what I have given in the initial 100 pages. The last 30 odd pages, 40 pages, essentially gives a crystal grazing into what the future holds for which way PLA is going, and then maximum coverage is for India. What should be the decision making apparatus, what changes we need to do in various structures, and for the US and the rest of the world, for the Indo Pacific, I'm least interested what happens in Europe. This
yeah,
book doesn't cover what is the way ahead for Europe. This book covers what is the way ahead for US and the West in the Indo Pacific.
the
Yeah.
interesting couple of very interesting things that I was saying is how basically the thought process of the PLA has changed from the 1995 first white paper, which talks about defense and this and that. And guys, you will actually realize the entire strata of the PLA and the entire thinking of the Chinese Communist Party when you read through this. Because in 1998 they talk about armed subversion. ठीक है जी. Then in 2002 they talk about stop separation and realize complete reunification. Then in 2004 they add something called maintain public order and social stability. So from 1995, where they're talking about consolidation of defense, safeguard national unity, this, that, yevo, and everything like that, they have come down to maintaining public order. Then in 2006, they talk about consolidate the ruling position of the Chinese Communist Party. And funnily speaking, they then talk about, yeah,
Maintaining world peace and promoting common development.
common development. And in 2010, this is the most amazing thing, maintaining social harmony, stability, resolutely subdue all subversive and sabotage activities, as well as violent terrorist activities. So that tells you that the challenges for the PLA every 3 to 5 years changed, and how they've kind of developed the PLA to not let the challenges they actually have, but to take advantage of the other person's challenges for him not to focus on your own. So when sir is talking about asymmetric warfare कि वो आपके fault lines के बीच में ढूंढेगा, the sheer factor that he actually talks about his white papers and he mentions all these things in those white papers tells you that he's got massive fault lines within. And this is something, if Xi Jinping or any of his ping pongs are watching, I'd like to pass a message across that listen, we know your fault lines, so you can keep creating this and that. Please understand what you perceive as a great tactic of fighting can be used against you. And why am I saying that? We have Mr. Xi Jinping running to Tibet when some voices from India mention Tibet. When somebody from India goes to Mongolia, he goes to Nai Mongolia. अब
Yes.
क्या बोलूं उससे आगे. अभी वो ईस्ट
इसमें
टर्किस्तान के साथ भी थोड़ा सा एक ऐसे दूर से हैंडशेक करना चाहिए, बोलते हैं ना, हाई फाइव टाइप्स. यू
also one point you will find interesting, which I don't find in a lot of literature. In a few papers, I have mentioned it, but I don't find this being discussed. Is the floating nuclear power plants. they have, it's there in Bohai Sea, which is North Sea, Yellow Sea के
Yeah,
अंदर वो
yeah,
bay है उनका near, where they are testing it, and they plan to put 34 of them. Total 37, 34 is to be in South China Sea. Now just imagine if in another 5 to 10 years they bring 30 plus floating nuclear power plants to provide uh, energy to the Paracel Islands, the Spratly Islands, Scarborough Shoals. फॉनऑप्स करके दिखा दो, आप लड़ाई लड़के दिखा दो. Has he shifted the threat of his eastern seaboard beyond the first island chain? Think about it. This is how he thinks and
yeah,
strategizes and works.
yeah, 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 yeah. Apart from that, sir, my last question to you before I open out for the audience questions.
Yeah.
You had given three types of warfare that the PLA is planning for. Okay, you've made a nice little table which has military warfare, trans-military warfare, and non-military warfare. And for the benefit of the viewers and potential readers of this book, military warfare talks about atomic warfare, conventional warfare, biochemical warfare. So it's page 53 if you want to open it up.
Yeah.
Ecological warfare, space warfare, electronic warfare, guerrilla warfare, and mind you guys, hear me out very when I speak this very slowly.
Yeah.
Terrorist warfare. Trans-military warfare is diplomatic warfare, network warfare, intelligence warfare, psychological warfare, tactical warfare. Now hear me out very carefully once again. Smuggling warfare, drug warfare. Ladies and gentlemen watching right now, I did a fantastic show with General Dushyant where we spoke about the threat of narcotics and what it's doing to Manipur today. Kuki, Maiti, this, that, all that, okay. The real story is drugs. Virtual warfare, right? And finally, my favorite, if I may, sir, you know, non military warfare is financial warfare, trade warfare. Financial warfare, remember my last week's video about if does China want to sanction India? Resources warfare, dam on the Brahmaputra. Economic aid warfare, Pakistan रख ले यार थोड़ा पैसा.
Resource warfare, I will add.
So
About a decade ago, we were also applying for a oil field in Kazakhstan along with
yes.
China. And China elbowed us out and took both the fields. Kazakh was giving us one, they squeezed with the economic aid warfare and took that oil also.
And
That
now
also
it is
comes under resource warfare.
वो अलग चीज है थोड़ा टेबल टर्न हो रहा है आज टुडे वी आर स्क्वीजिंग देम आउट ऑफ सुएज एंड हाइफा
Yeah, वो table turn हो रहा है. But I'm just saying this is the resource warfare.
reality sir reality sir you and I should also build a table like this for India.
No, this is a table which is there in their unrestricted warfare का निकला
Warfare?
हुआ है. This is
Yes sir.
part of the unrestricted warfare.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get the viewers a little more interested in this game.
Actually, it is an incorrect translation done by the West. The
Yeah,
actual translation is not unrestricted warfare, it is warfare beyond rules.
rules.
There are no rules.
Yeah. And economic aid warfare we just spoken. Regulatory warfare which is lawfare. Sanction warfare. ठीक है जी, they passed a law in their, I mean, whatever the hell passes for a parliament in China, that we will like to sanction India. Karo, let's see. Media warfare. How many of our media journalists are card carrying CCP betas? I think I just kicked out one from the chat here as well. And there is one, by the way, on one of my other forums. Ideological warfare. So there are few in this country, and I don't like to get political, but there are few in this country who still feel Overlord Xi Jinping is their boss. And I don't want to say anything further because it kind of enrages me a little bit. But in any case, guys, let's get into your questions. Sir, thank you so much. Firstly, you've given me the honor of actually doing the first program on your book. I am sure people are going to love reading it. I'm sure that guys, please, the just for FYI, for people who have joined little late, the this particular link that I've put on the screen is a starred chat which is there in your chat box, or you can just click the link in your description. The link for the the, the same link which is for the Lancet publishers is there in the डिस्क्रिप्शन एज वेल. बाय द वे, थोड़ा जल्दी कर लो यार, अमेजोन में एक किताब बाकी है. तो मैं तभी अमेजोन का डाला नहीं है, वो पता नहीं कब वहां पर वो डब्बा उनका भरेगा, तो फिर देखेंगे. ये थोड़ा लिमिटेड सेलिंग है, थोड़ा सा जल्दी कर लो. जिसको पढ़नी है प्लीज फिगर दिस आउट. टुडे मॉर्निंग आई वाज अबाउट टू पुट द अमेजोन लिंक, देन मैंने सर को मैसेज, मैं सर अमेजोन को बोलो किताबें खत्म हो रही है वहां पर, एक ही बची है उधर पे. So, get pick this out, guys. This is going to be an interesting read for a lot of you who actually want to learn about China but get so confused with regards to, like I was when I started doing this about 2 3 years ago. I got so confused because how do I read Chinese? How do I do this? How do I do that? But then today, kind of, Akal works a little better, and there are a lot of Chinese people who write in English. So you read that, you try and insinuate what they're trying to say, you try and match their writings from their actions, and kind of create some sort of a link in the middle. It takes time, but you kind of get the hang of it. So please, let's get into your questions. Before I do, guys, like the video, subscribe, push it out into your friend circles. I'm sure a lot of people would be interested to know about China. And I'd call this quite a textbook with regards to the PLA. So that's something which is interesting. You can also, contribute to the Dev Talks efforts. QR code is right up there. Become a member through the join button, or send us a super sticker or super chat. Sir, first comment. Rahul Basu asks Sun Tzu versus Chanakya, whose philosophical ideology is more effective and strong?
I have always preferred Chanakya.
What would be the
His
biggest difference that you would find, sir? Just a short
okay.
little difference.
Chanakya gives you the complete governance. So if you follow Chanakya, like I said, we have forgotten Chanakya. Chanakya, in his Koot Yudh,
Yeah.
which is the diplomatic warfare, which he
Kutniti,
calls,
हाँ.
or within that, uh, if you give me time, I'll share that verses with Aadi. There is three places where he talks of Tushnim Yudh, silent warfare. And the silent warfare is exactly this, of how to denude your enemy's strength. वो हम भूल गए. And Chanakya, Sun Tzu is essentially on how to fight and how the king can retain power. And this is during that period when warring period hota tha
Yeah.
unka. So
475 to
yeah, to
225 BC.
total 300 years in 400 odd BC to about 200 odd BC, they
225
kept
BC, हाँ.
fighting. So from there, he had taken out all these concepts and other things, and he was there with one of the victorious kings. So that is where the writings are all about, how to use deception in war and everything. Chanakya's whole governance, Arthashastra, is the complete how to govern yourself. And it is easily, the way it has been written can easily be modified into the present day democracy, how it can be done. So I had written a paper earlier. I'll share the link with Aadi. He can put it up in Dev Talks, Strategic Continuum of China, in which I have compared what that we have forgotten what the elements of power. That what was the elements of power at that time under a king, and I had modified that into elements of power today as a democracy, and how you need to guard and all that. So I always
May I
prefer.
just have a small little addendum, so if you don't mind?
Yeah,
One of
yeah.
my observations about Chanakya and Sun Tzu is that, and I think a lot of the logics about warfare and dominance and all that are similar. Uh, I guess those were the times when people were thinking in those lines. So I guess it's like that. But the biggest drastic difference that I saw is in Sun Tzu's game. uh, the emperor is like supreme. He drops out of, you know, the heaven's hand or something like that. Uh, in Chanakya's rendition of things, the emperor is not supreme. It is the emperor is like the leader servant of the people, and I don't know if I'm able
But
to
no, you are very
articulate
right.
this.
That the emperor's task is to make sure that the people are happy.
Yeah, but
That
he's
is his
he's
primary task.
he's respected, he's revered, but he's also checked by a courtiers of judges, as they would call
No, they call them the Rakshas.
rakshas.
Rakshas are the ministers, and the Amatya Rakshas is the prime minister.
Yeah,
And you have the Raj Guru. This is the people who actually ensure that he stays stable and that he does things for the benefit of the people.
people, and not
That is the
himself,
pride.
and this and that and the other.
No.
So it was a
Whereas in Sun Tzu's thing and all other, when you read about them, they also have a book, Shu Ji de likha hua hai, about governance. It's all about how the king can ensure that his orders are executed.
correct.
There's a subtle difference.
That's something which I found to be very relevant, because at the end of it, as uh, a strategic study, I'd rather look at something which is a more democratic process. And I guess that's one of the reasons why the government is today kind of talking about mother of democracies and this and that,
Yeah.
is because the whole concept of Indian this Chanakya Niti is about a democratic leadership structure.
No, I'll just submit one thing. Each
So,
region has their own way, they have their own DNA. Our
hmm,
DNA is very well given out in Arthashastra than Sun Tzu or somebody else's. What he has written is what is there in their DNA. That's why they still talk of apna ordained from heaven, Thyanzia, all under heaven and all that. They still
mandate
talk
from
about
heaven,
this,
Hanji.
yeah, mandate from heaven and everything. We don't, that concept is not there in our case.
Yeah, I mean, I find that to be. This is just my personal opinion, sir. I mean, I may be corrected by the audience yourself. This is just something I feel is the biggest difference between Chanakya and Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
The concept of collective leadership and the concept of single leader, and I am Xi Jinping. So Raghunandan says, sir, we have made sure that either the Chinese or Western investment and economy should be watched very carefully and make our economy self-sustaining. Your views on it? I
Entirely
think
subscribe to it. One word. Entirely subscribe to it. Yes.
uh, आप इसको
बिल्कुल
बोलो
गौरव, उनका तो तुष्णिम युद्ध है यार. That's what he's doing world over.
This is a very interesting comment, huh? I must say, Gaurav, very good,
बहुत सही पकड़े हो गौरव.
very good, very good, very
तुष्णिम
good.
युद्ध है.
This is I must compliment you. This is a very precise statement of how things go. I must say, you've picked up a fan. I have recently found you and now become a fan.
Thank you, Raja Rawal sir. Thank you.
Uh, yeah. Sir, disadvantage for PRC in South China Sea is that it is a very shallow sea, on an average 60 to 80 meters deep. So Chinese submarine designs philosophy have not catered to deep water tactics. Huge capability gap. Your comments, sir?
See, if you look at the complete thing, South China Sea is the only big sea that he has in which he can put his navy and do something about it. How much his submarines can go below, we don't know. That is why he is very careful. Is he a full blue water navy as yet? Is a question mark, because major operations he has never been able to conduct outside. He can do it within the south, essentially within the China Sea. साउथ चाइना सी के अंदर भी आई हैव नॉट सीन हिम कंडक्ट अ वेरी मेजर एक्सरसाइज ऑल द वे आउट इनटू द साउथ चाइना सी, जस्ट टुवर्ड्स द नॉर्थ, कीपिंग क्लोज टू पैरासल, स्प्रैटली एंड शार्मरो शोल्स उसी के आसपास कर देता है. So that doesn't typically, like our navy goes out into the Indian Ocean for exercise. I have not seen
Yeah.
him go out deep outside. So yes, it is a capability gap, and I'm sure he also understands. So Indian Ocean at the moment is secure with us, but we should not sit on our laurels, and we have to keep building the capability so that if, as you, we feel that there is a capability gap, not only should that gap stay, the gap should keep expanding. So to cover up for that, he is using different means. He is putting a lot of effort in unmanned underwater systems.
Mm.
Okay. Now that changes the dynamics of maritime warfare. So that's the line he's going in.
I mean, interesting. China has invested disproportionate funds of cyber warfare and information warfare, surveillance tech. To be a military superpower, they need the psych and motivated trained manpower, which they seem to lack.
You cannot fight with a conscript or and contract army. I've covered in detail that problem that they face in those 60 pages where I have covered about what they have done. I have given about their conscript. 40% are conscripts. After that, if you want to be, if you clear the exam and they accept you and your reports are okay, that means if you're politically correct, you
Mhm.
may be capable, merit hoga, but if you're not ideologically inclined to them, they won't take you. That is
Uh,
first no ho jata hai. Then if you're ideologically inclined and you are meeting the basic requirements, then you get a contract for 10 years. ओके, तो वो उसके बाद फिर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिलता है, फिर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिलता है टिल यू रीच द सार्जेंट लेवल, एंड देन you are there for till you retire. This cuts down their pension budget, and so the pension, they are dependent on state. So this doesn't give you a motivated manpower. If after 7 years he's suddenly thinking, am I getting my contract, I'm not getting my contract, what will I do when I go outside, what jobs can I do, I go outside, you're not trained. Second is that single child policy. The child is worried because he's the only child and he has got his wife. So he's got to look not only after his parents, he has got to look after his in laws. And they have, in the rural areas, they live slightly longer. So he will have some grandparents of his from his father's side, mother's side, the girl's father's side, mother's side, इन सबको इसने देखना है और ये मर गया तो. So that morale level is also a big question mark. So it
mm.
is the psyche that you need. Will he? Because as far as he is concerned, he is Han. He is not interested in Tibet or Xinjiang. He may fight like a cornered tiger if you are landing on the Han heartland, which is the eastern seaboard, south Beijing and southwards. He may fight like a cornered tiger, but will he fight in Tibet? I have my doubts, because mentally they don't accept Tibet as part of China. No,
China.
it's a conquered territory. It is something, the psychological damage that the American soldiers have faced, and the
Mm.
Western soldiers when they have gone into Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and all. There's a big psychological scar that they have. So yes, that is why he's going into a different kind of warfare. No? Like I mentioned in the book, all this is non-contact warfare, cyber, info, which is under the strategic support force. So it denudes your does Tushnim Yudh, as Gaurav had pointed out, and he destroys you from inside. Now, when he comes, whether the soldier is motivated or not, he feels your soldier will be demotivated to fight. Is he true? Will it happen? That's a big question mark. Even if there is, what he fails to understand, at least in the South Asian subcontinent, whatever may be your internal troubles, the moment there is a threat from outside, everybody comes together. Whether it be India, whether it be Pakistan, whether it be Bangladesh, you all stand together. That is in your psyche. You're together. So
Absolutely.
how much is he able to achieve within India? That's open to question.
Venki Saab says kudos to General Ryan sir for sharing such an in-depth observation, knowledge, and analysis on China.
Thank you,
Uh,
sir.
a political question, Venki Saab, आप बोल रहे हो तो मैं ले रहा हूँ, but otherwise, one question slightly political though. During the period of 2004 to 14, did our government not even bother to consult a military top brass on China overtures?
I can only talk, I don't know about 2004 till about 2012. 2013-14, I know I was an MO. We have what is known as the China Study Group. So that used to meet and discuss. And I'm sure they would have met and discussed. But thereafter, whatever decision is taken finally by the decision makers, it's a political decision. So I don't think I can comment on that. But I know that 2013, 14, 15, 16, every incident, every event, we used to have long meetings of the China Study Group, briefing to PM and Raksha Mantri, and all that would go on. And the China Study Group has a group from your defense, from foreign ministry, from home ministry, all sitting together and to discuss.
Congratulations to you, sir. I wish your book a great success and purchasing one at the earliest.
Thank you, Sunil sir. Thank you.
Second or the third comment asking for the link and saying this, Srinivasan says our defense forces have a legacy issues like inter-service rivalry and intel sharing inertia among services. Has anything moved on the ground beyond theater command creation or policy level? So may I just, if you don't mind,
Yeah, yeah.
Srinivasan, I'd like to just, I'm not trying to be facetious, but show me one force in the world that doesn't have this. I mean, two
No,
human
I
beings
will
can
just
have
tell
this. That's
you,
how it is, you know.
you go anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
inter-service rivalry will be there. Now,
Always.
whether I have created my integrated services, where even if I create my jointness, that inter-service rivalry अच्छा होता है.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Certain amount of rivalry makes you try to compete with each other and become better. So I don't look down on inter-service rivalry. Never. As far as intel sharing inertia, I don't think so. It exists today. Even when I was in service, at least my last 3 years, what I saw, हमें तो मिल जाता था इंटेल फ्रॉम ऑल थ्री सर्विसेज इमीडिएटली फटाफट sharing used to be there. So I don't think the inertia exists today as far as intel sharing is concerned to immediately inform. Okay. And theater command creation तो अभी discussion चल रहा है यार. Let's see what form it takes, how it takes. I have given my views in the book, what I feel the way it should be, like what I stated also, that we should look at jointness, integration will come, will take its own time. USA integrate नहीं हुआ यार. 86 में it was forced down of them when they have their unified combatant commands जो पूरी दुनिया के ऊपर राज करने के लिए कर रहा है, उसके अंदर ही लड़ते हैं आपस में. तो जॉइंटनेस कर लो यार, वो बाकी सब होता रहेगा, आपस में आ जाएगा. उतना ज्यादा भी इंटीग्रेशन अच्छा नहीं है. लाइक आई मेंशन ना, मैं कितना भी कर लूं यार, I cannot compete. If I have to make an airplane, I cannot compete with that pilot who has given his life there flying those aircrafts and coordinating and operations and all. Can I plan that? No. Similarly, can he plan the ground operation where I am fighting the way I have lived my whole life and planned everything? He can't. Same way, the two of us can't replicate the Navy, and the Navy can't replicate us. So, what are we talking of integration? Integration is understanding each other's uh, way they function, what is their own culture. Each service has its culture, how they function, which is a necessity for them to function well. So that has come from there. And I should know their positives, what all they can do, and how I can utilize that to further my plan. That is what is integration all about. Integration doesn't mean कि एक army officer is sitting and making an air force plan. We are living in a fool's paradise if we think about that.
The problem is 90% of the people that have spoken about this, I don't know, I don't want to say anything, but a lot of people who've written about this, spoken about this, no, there has to be cross train. Abbe, yaar, you can't cross train a person. I mean, how can you do that?
Cross training nahi. I come on, sit on staff, I will learn, I will go and attend some course, I will learn. I learn what are the positives that I have, which a particular service can assist in furthering my campaign. Similarly, the other service, when he comes there, he understands how they function and what are the positives that he can take from that. 1 minute, there is someone at the door, my wife is not here.
Sure, no problem, sir. By the time sir comes back, let's see how many likes you guys have given the show, yaar. इतना तो देख ही सकते हैं. Okay. 127 likes. Yeah, we can do a little better than that. Yeah, thoda sa, it's free. As a matter of fact, somebody commented that on the show. You don't have to pay anything to put a like. Just press a like. Remember, this sir has been putting in a lot of effort in terms of spending time with people like me and bringing
My
about.
apologies, sincere apologies.
Not at all, sir. I was actually telling sir telling everybody, yeah, like shake the bado, it's free.
So these are my personal views on integration. Integration doesn't mean that I can sit and plan somebody else जिसकी जिंदगी निकल. It is like telling कि भाई एक जो स्कूटर का मैकेनिक है और उसको थोड़ा क्रॉस ट्रेनिंग कर दो तो वो ट्रक का मेंटेनेंस शॉप फ्लोर चला लेगा, घंटा चला लेगा यार. वो तो स्कूटर रिपेयर करता है, वो ट्रक कहाँ से रिपेयर करेगा? या उसको स्कूटर करता है, उसको बोलोगे कि अब वो ट्रेन रिपेयर कर दे. हाउ विल ही रिपेयर अ ट्रेन? कैन ही ड्राइव अ ट्रेन? आई ड्राइव अ कार, कैन आई ड्राइव अ ट्रेन?
You can start it, probably move it. I don't know if it can come to a stop or
नहीं
not.
वो स्टार्ट भी ऐसे झटके से मैं करके निकाल दूंगा, पीछे के जितने भी बोगीज होंगे उसके लिंक टूट टाट के पीछे रह जाएंगे यार.
And उसके अंदर ब्रेकिंग का बड़ा चक्कर होता है, by the way. For
So
this thing,
it
you
is
have to
something like that.
first bogey onwards, you have to brake. Otherwise, they'll all.
No, the whole issue is that जिसकी जिंदगी कोई चीज करने में चली गई है, उसके काबिलियत के लेवल पे आप कोई एक आध कोर्स और एक आध पोस्टिंग करके आप नहीं आ सकते. ये फंडा क्लियर होना चाहिए. आप जब इंटीग्रेशन की बात करते हो तो मुझे समझ में आना चाहिए कि भाई एयरफोर्स की क्या पॉजिटिव्स हैं जो मैं ग्राउंड फोर्स के लिए यूज कर सकता हूँ. एयरफोर्स का बंदा पता लगेगा कि ग्राउंड फोर्सेस में क्या काबिलियत है जिसको मैं इस्तेमाल कर सकता हूँ फॉर फर्दरेंस ऑफ एयर वॉर. दैट इज इंटीग्रेशन.
Yep, absolutely.
इतना हो जाए, ये इंटीग्रेशन है.
Absolutely.
बाकी कुछ नहीं है.
So let's take comments फटाफट.
Yeah.
We've got quite a bit, so let's just run through them. I think a lot of people would like to see. Sir, we should focus on getting competent people at the right places in the establishment to put us on the right paths. What are your opinions?
Do you think competent people are not there?
Yikes. Okay, sorry.
ठीक है. कई लोगों का आदत है कि रिटायर हो गए हैं, मुझे पता नहीं है तो वो ठीक नहीं कर रहा. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं. I am very sanguine that they are all competent people who are sitting at that higher scale.
Because at the
I
end
have
of it,
done my bit. I have trained my people who are below me. I am fully confident that the person who is sitting there knows what is best, and he is doing that way, and he is competent.
if you like the panelists on Dev Talks, including Renal Saab, trust me, the people that are serving right now are all trained by these people. So, they're all solid chaps. Don't worry about it. Oh, but जबरदस्त बंदे हैं.
The current chief took over from me when I was retiring. I had done a handing taking over with him for almost 2 months, briefing him on my chair. He is now the current chief here. See, always remember, the pyramid is steep, so the vacancies are very less, and so even if somebody is competent enough, you would be competent, but you may not make it because the vacancy was not there. That doesn't mean you're not competent. That doesn't mean that just because you were competent and didn't make it, the person who has gone up is not competent. Sorry, I don't take that line of thought.
सर टाइमिंग की भी तो बात होती है ना, आई मीन
या वैकेंसी होना चाहिए, और है तो आप बन जाओगे, नहीं है तो आप नहीं बने यार.
एंड नॉट एवरीबॉडी, यू नो, as a matter of fact, not everybody wants to be on the top. Like I would never want to be a CEO of a company. No, जहाँ पर हुआ ठीक है. I don't want that. I rather do my thing and do my videos, and I'm happy with this. So that's learned men are making us aware about threats to our motherland, and we're not even liking the video. Says volumes about the thankless behavior. Thank you. I was just going to say that.
Thank you, sir.
Right, Major General Sir, Chinese never shared power since the Ming Dynasty. Can we assume communism is just a garb?
No.
That's a heavy one,
Shared
buddy.
power means I didn't get your point. It was
Sir,
empire. Kings have never
yeah.
shared power here. Yuan, Ming, Qing, and then came the Republic of China.
And then
And
Ping.
Communist Party came up, and you had a civil war, and now Communist Party is ruling. So sharing कभी कब कहाँ किया? They've never done it yet. Emperor is emperor. Capo di tutti capi. He decides what is to be done. Thank you.
What is the concept? What is the definition of a conscript soldier? Why some people compared Agniveer plan to a conscript soldier?
Agniveer is not conscription. Agniveer is voluntary.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to come, you come. If you don't want to come, you don't come.
Nobody drags anybody in India.
Conscript is compulsory. There is an age group given, and within that, you have to do your compulsory 2 years of service. Yes, people who have a lot of money, there's a lot of corruption which goes on in the conscription board. People who are rich, they pay money and they don't go.
Get out of it.
Okay, get out of it. So for 2 years, you have to be a conscript soldier. So when you are a conscript, you are just given basic training. That's it. So 40% of them is conscript of the PLA. You take any service, 40% total is the conscript. So if you are a conscript, when you're talking of modern weapons and equipment, he's not trained on that. He's not competent because you're not trained in. No? Will you give him anything? No. So in any case, 40%, that's why I keep saying, with the conscript army, you can't fight a modern warfare. Agniveer, the difference in way we function and they function. They don't have any logistic support. Units जो है खाना अपना उगाते हैं, चावल, सब्जी, मच्छी पकड़ना, सब वो अपना खुद करते हैं. कौन सा ट्रेनिंग कर लेगा? Okay. In our case, even when that Agniveer comes for 4 years, he may have come with the basic training. He is trained in the unit to become a trained soldier. Okay. So at least grade 3 तक का तो पूरा ट्रेनिंग दे देते हैं, और अगर if he is competent enough, he will clear his grade 2 also, because all this is done at the unit level. पूरा ट्रेनिंग होता है उसका. देयर इज अ फुल ट्रेनिंग शेड्यूल. यू ट्रेन बिकॉज हमें ये सब उगाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है, हमें तो आता है, राशन आता है, एंड यू हैव अ सेपरेट सेट ऑफ नॉन कॉम्बेटेंट्स हु आर कुक्स एंड अदर्स हु कुक फूड फॉर यू. सो दैट ट्रेनिंग गोज ऑन, बट फॉर देम at least those 4 years that I was there, we could see the company in front of us. There is no training. वो तो खेती बाड़ी करते हैं, अपना स्मॉल आर्म्स का फायरिंग का प्रैक्टिस होता है, पीटी दौड़ते हैं, गेम्स खेलते हैं, और सब्जी तरकारी उगाते हैं. ये है. आई हैव नेवर सीन देम प्रैक्टिस बेसिक बैटल ड्रिल्स. इन्फेंट्री के भी अपने बैटल प्रोसीजर्स और बैटल ड्रिल्स होते हैं यार. आई हैव नेवर सीन देम डू देयर प्रैक्टिस.
Are you serious? They actually are growing food?
and 24/7 that valley was under us, our observation. I've never seen them do their basic battle drills and battle procedure. कुछ
Wow.
नहीं तो पेड़ के नीचे क्लास में बैठ के सिखाओ यार, वो तक नहीं देखा है हमने. तो कैसे मान लें कि आप ट्रेन कर रहे हो. आगे जब वो ट्रेंड सोल्जर होता है वो पीछे चला जाता है अपने जहाँ पे बटालियन है और the main PLA forces are. I'm sure there they must be doing some training. But if you don't have a like I said, the basic logistic, administrative logistics नहीं है, कैसे करोगे?
Amazing, sir. I mean, this I honestly was not aware. So this is quite a
तो
revelation
फिशिंग
of me.
करते हैं यार, मच्छी पकड़ के लेके जाते हैं नदी के पकड़ से.
Right, sir. Coming to the last few ones. Okay. Your views on some armchair defense expert who claims IAF jets and Navy ships, submarines don't identify friend or foe, talk to each other. Sukhoi 30 MKI is a complete failure, etc. etc. Isn't this the same armchair guy who killed Pannu some time ago and was embarrassed?
Rahul ji, I will just give you one thing. How do you identify? Every particular type of aircraft or a platform gives out a particular signature.
Yeah.
तो आपका जो डिटेक्शन सिस्टम होता है, जो भी सिस्टम है, उसके लाइब्रेरी में वो होना चाहिए आपके पास, जो रखते हो आप. That is why you do so much of exercises, whether it be the Navy, whether it be the Air Force, whether it be your air defense, AD. You have to build up your library. जब वो लाइब्रेरी के साथ आपका सिस्टम आपके सामने आता है तो ओनली देन यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई ये अपना है कि नहीं है, बेस्ड ऑन द सिग्नेचर्स. अगर आपने फीड नहीं किया है तो ऑब्वियसली नहीं होगा. डू यू थिंक आवर सर्विसेज आर लाइक दैट? आई रियली डोंट थिंक सो. दैट्स व्हाई यू सेड आर्मचेयर डिफेंस एक्सपर्ट. ना वो जमीन पे काम नहीं किया है.
And we also have General Dushan Singh who's with us, who says we can only offer our advice, but the people serving in are in the know-how of the context and the consideration for the making of a decision. They will pick our minds and use it if required. I think that's
बिल्कुल
on the
सही जनरल साहब, बिल्कुल सही आपने कहा. यू हिट द नेल ऑन द हेड.
Sir, I want to say something. Just it's so nice that we've had the opportunity to actually discuss this book. I think, honestly, this 1.5 hours is not justice. Let me just say this. So there's going to be a lot many more discussions with regards to China. Of course, me and Sir sit down and keep talking about that. But one thing that we've learned is that till the time we don't, and I'm going to just speak as a very layman answer about your national objectives and this and that. One thing that I've learned from this book, which is a basic, simple thing that I think all of us can take home from this talk, is national objective, which is the main thing. What is your strategy and everything like that? From which comes the military objectives, out of which, for which comes the military strategy, for which is done the defense procurement, planning, and so on and so forth. And the structures and this and that comes right at the bottom, because you are doing all the bottom up things actually to reach the top goal, which is the national objectives. So please understand, anything that any country does, and it's not just China, everybody does it in that particular way. Any country does is to meet that larger national objective.
In this, I'll just add one point.
So,
Before the procurement comes what kind of capabilities I need to be able to actualize that strategy. उधर से procurement आता है कि मुझे ये capability चाहिए, और वहाँ से comes the procurement, and concurrent with that is कि भाई मैं ये procure कर रहा हूँ, what is the structure I need which will effectively I'll be able to utilize the capability.
true, absolutely.
And economy, as we modernize more and more technology comes, it doesn't come cheap. Let us be very clear, it doesn't come cheap. So economy of effort, that is where I say we go for jointness, because then economy of scales आ जाता है, then duplication नहीं होता, services के अंदर duplication नहीं होता.
True.
एक ही टाइप का सामान अगर हम सब लेना शुरू कर देते हैं, जहाँ कर सकते हैं, सब जगह नहीं कर सकते, लेट्स बी वेरी क्लियर ऑन दैट। देयर आर सर्टेन थिंग्स वेयर वी कैन हैव कॉमन इक्विपमेंट, देन इकोनॉमी ऑफ स्केल आ जाता है, वहाँ हो जाता है। बट टू से कि सारा इक्विपमेंट सेम हो जाएगा, आई एम सॉरी, इट डजंट वर्क दैट।
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you so much. I'd like to wish personally, and I think from all the viewers and all the people, all the subscribers of the Dev Talks family, that all the very best for this book. And I hope you get much well deserved laurels for this thing, and we see the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth editions and go on so forward.
That depends on the people who read whether they like it and
Yeah,
spread the
but
word around, and more people buy it. I'm
absolutely. So
happy that
guys,
Amazon has run out of stock. I feel happy as an author. It is running out of stock. I feel happy as
so
an author.
all of you guys, I just FYI, the starred comment in this, which is going to be showing you, is the Lancet publication link. You can click there and buy this book, and there is also a what do you call, link in the description. And just to close this particular show, I'll just take this particular comment, which actually sits on your book. One thing I want you to know, and we all must know that more about the enemy, as they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Thanks for making us more aware of our enemy. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
sir.
Rataraji. Thank you. Sir.
Jai Hind.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening in. And thank you. Thank you, Adi.